Many years ago, more than 10 years ago, I had one devotee in Penang. The neighbor passed away. And then he told me the family spent at least 20,000 employ these Taoists to come and chant. But nowadays you don't find Taoist priests. You find Taoist laymen doing the work of Taoist priests. And Hokkien we call what? Sai Kong. Cantonese is Lam Mo Lo. So I said this, they did a ceremony, 7 days of chanting. So the first day they came, they told the family, your father is in the 7th level of hell. So they did one whole night of chanting. Tomorrow they told the family, he has come up to the 6th level already. Then that day they do some more chanting. After that come up to the 5th level already the next day. So over a period of 7 days, I say came out of hell already. Because people like to hear that, even though you don't see. So from there, you see our Chinese monks also do something similar. Chao tu. Say it can help your relative out of hell. This is not a Buddhist teaching. So in this funeral, the mourning period usually is 49 days. Why 49 days? Because they believe that the soul takes 49 days to be reborn. So during these 49 days, it is wandering around, trying to find the path for rebirth. That's what they believe. So they think that by doing merit, it will help this relative to go for a good rebirth. And the first 7 days is the most important. But before I go further, I just say actually what is the Buddhist concept about this 49 days. Whether a person takes rebirth immediately after death or later. Now in original Buddhism, there are 5 places of rebirth. The 2 good ones is heaven and human. And the 3 below is the 3 woeful planes, the ghost, the animal and the hell realm. Okay. Now according to the earliest discourses of the Buddha, if a person is going to be reborn in hell, hell beings will come up and drag him down to hell. That means immediate. Cannot bargain with hell beings. They drag you down immediately. In fact, one of my supporters in Kampa told me that the father, just a few days before the father died, the father saw Ngao Tao Ma Min waiting for him at the door. So I don't know whether this Ngao Tao Ma Min came from Taoism. Probably, So, but there are such beings. What form they take, we don't know. But they actually come from hell, waiting to drag you down. So that is immediate rebirth in the... Now in the ghost realm, there are some devotees who tell me about their relative. See, there's one old man who told me the auntie, the temper was very bad, very, very nasty person. So 2 days before she died, when she was sleeping, the teeth came out, the Dracula teeth, 2 big Dracula teeth came out. And everybody could see, for 2 days. And then when she died, then the teeth disappeared. That means she had taken rebirth. So it looks like this. So this one, even before dying, already turned into a ghost. So it must be the rebirth is immediate once that person dies. So for the ghost also immediate. And then for the heavenly realm, some people who remember their past life, they said that when they died, the chariot from heaven came down. Heavenly chariot with horses. Horse cart came down to bring them to heaven. So it looks like heaven also immediate. But in the Buddha's teachings, If a person is going to be reborn in the human womb, to be reborn as a human, that person has to wait for condition. Two conditions. One is that the mother and father must come together, and the mother must be in the right season. Then only that person can go into the womb. So if that is the case, going into the womb must wait. Maybe for animals also the same. Should be. Animals also must wait for the parents to come together and then only can enter the womb. So only this human and animal realm, they have to wait. But for the other three rebirths, it's immediate. But I have to wait how long? I think each one is different. But probably no need to wait so long, 49 days. So that is about how long it takes to be reborn. Now, although the ceremony lasts 49 days, and this 49 days is actually for rich family if they can afford. But those who cannot afford will be shorter. No? Is it 7 days already 20,000? Not cheap. So how to 49 days? So normally they keep the corpse 3 nights, 3 days, or 5 days, or 7 days. Why? To my thinking is because to make sure that person doesn't wake up. Yes, there have been cases people dying already, and then suddenly waking up after 2 days or something. But actually, according to our Buddhist teachings, we have a surer way of knowing whether that person is going to wake up or not. How? Because the Buddha says that when a person actually dies, 3 things stop. One is the life force, Hey, Ki, vitality, stops. The second one is the consciousness. Consciousness is the last to go. Consciousness stops. The other one is body heat. This body heat is one thing we can determine. So if you feel the corpse cold already, sure won't wake up again. Confident. But it's still warm, I better wait after I wake up in the coffin. So that's the way to. And then Taoists believe on the 7th night the spirit will come back. Actually, very often it comes back. But if it comes back, it will show signs. Either can hear the footsteps, or the door open by itself, you cannot see anybody, the window open, sometimes the fridge also open. These things happen. But if it shows signs that he has come back, quite definitely has become a ghost. And why he wants you to know? Because now that person is suffering, the ghost family is suffering. That's why he wants you to know. And then they also say, because the spirit comes back, I have to be very careful. At night, I don't go near the coffin, especially 11 p.m. until 2 or 3 a.m. Even if cup you also, don't go. But somebody told me, he was actually called by his friends to go and help one lady. The boyfriend's father passed away. So we went to the house. So many people, they said, at night, don't come out 11 to 2 a.m. You want to go to the bathroom first, the toilet first. But a lot of people don't believe. So in the middle of the night, I come to you. So wanted to go to urine. So she went to the toilet. Came back, something entered her. Became possessed. Chong tiok liao. And they had to go and call the Taoists to come and help. So this person who told me, he knows the Taoist master. Taoist master also called him to come along. So he said, 5 of them, they caught the girl. 5 of them also don't have the strength to hold her down. So strong. But finally, they put something on her, and slowly she come down. What do you call it? Fu. So, these things. Okay. The other thing about funeral, the old Chinese custom, when they take out the coffin from the house, and they're going to nail the coffin, they ask the family, don't look, turn away, so the family are very obedient, turn around and look. But one old monk, Bhante says, actually what's the real reason? The olden days, when a person is going to be buried, the family is very rich. They put gold and all that inside there. They ask you to turn away. They quickly pocket some of the before they nail down the coffin. So maybe it's true. Otherwise, I ask you to look away. The other thing is that every night, our Chinese, they will burn the paper money. Gin chua. Why? Have you all ever asked? You see, they believe 49 days that dead spirit will be wandering around trying to find his way out for rebirth. So when he's wandering around, a lot of other spirits will come and kacau him, So they burn this paper money, hoping that all the paper money will go into the other world. Then the greedy spirits are all trying to pick up the paper money. They have no time to disturb your relative. And the relative can look for the good road to rebirth. So this is a funny belief. But nowadays, they not only burn the paper money, they burn so many other things, the house, car, everything. This, of course, to us, is Buddhist, it's no use. Even if you get the paper money, the other side, they don't use paper money. They burn the house also, they don't stay in the wooden house and the paper house. You burn paper house because they get paper house, they're not going to get a brick house. Now this chong, this pantang, that the spirit will enter you and all this, actually is quite true. But only thing is, in Buddhism, the Buddha is supposed to be the best physician in the world, the best doctor in the world. And he's teaching us a path of preventive medicine. When you get cancer already, it's very hard to get a cure. But if you are a smart person, you will live your lifestyle in such a way that you won't get cancer. We know cancer comes from too much stress, eating the wrong type of food, processed food and all that. And then never exercising, and not getting enough rest. So some of these things. So if you live your lifestyle in such a way, you have a healthy lifestyle, you will never get cancer. So in the same way, the Buddha's teaching is to teach us to walk the path so that we have a lot of merit, a lot of blessings. And when you have a lot of blessings, ji un, ta pai kun si quan, one so go, always one so go. So if you are one so go, nothing will disturb you. Even the spirit come near you also is scared of you. Because you have a lot of this Kuai Yin, this Wu Fat San, Bo Chi. So if we are truly a good person with Tau Tak, then you have this Hui Jin, different types of Hui Jin. After all, we have a lot of relatives in the spirit world. So if you are good, your relatives also will protect you. Even your mother, father, grandparents. So, okay. The other thing about this Chinese Buddhism is this Xin Chu Pai, San Chi Pai, these ancestral tablets. From long time ago, Chinese like to pray to this. But nowadays, our Buddhists also, sometimes they don't keep it in the house, but then when the relative passes away, maybe they go and cremate, and then they take the ashes, put in the temple, and pay a lot of money, not cheap, for a small hole like that. They put the ashes and then put the sanji pai there also. So this is not Buddhism. Why you want to keep the ashes for? Your relative already gone for rebirth. Not going to stay in that ash or in that sanji pai. Of course, in the olden days, people used to believe that all your ancestors will stay in the sanji pai and bless you and bless your house. So that is not Buddhism. So what is the Buddhist way? Actually, in Buddhism, the Buddha said only 4 types of persons you should keep the ashes to venerate. And the ashes are this Kuthu, Quat Phui. This Quat Phui is actually Selice. Selice is not some beautiful looking crystal, it's not. It's just this Quat Phui. One of our devotees, he went to India, then he went to New Delhi, the museum there, and he actually saw the Sarira, the sculpture of the Buddha. And it's not small, beautiful looking beads. It's a bone, actual bone. So our Chinese have always talked about sculpture as though it's some small thing. Why? This is also because of history of Buddhism. If you have been a Mahayanist like me, I was a Mahayanist for 9 years, 3 years as a novice and a monk. You will learn that when Buddhism first came to China, those emperors, they did not believe in Buddhism. So according to the story, one of the early Buddhist monks, he wanted to convince the emperor how good Buddhism is. So he prayed to heaven for a sarira, a relic. So he prayed very hard for many days. Then one day, according to the story, the cup where he put, he heard cling. So Lich was supposed to have fallen from heaven. So he was very happy. He took this sarira and went to show the emperor. He said, this is a real relic. So the emperor said, how do I know? Then he said, you take a hammer, you knock the sarira, it won't break. So according to the story, the emperor knocked with the hammer and never broke. So from here, people think sarira is something round and beautiful. It's not. So only four persons, their sarira, their Quat Phui is worthy of veneration. The first one is a Sammasambuddha, a Buddha who teaches the Dhamma to the world. The second one is a Pachika Buddha, a silent Buddha who doesn't teach Dhamma to the world. Then the third one is Aryan disciples, first fruit, second fruit, third, fourth fruit, Sotapanna, Sakadagamin, Anagamin, and Arahant, 4 types of Arya. But then the last person is the universal monarch, king who is so good that the whole world wants him to become the king. Such a person is very hard to find. So only these 4 types of persons, you take their remains after burning, then you venerate. Otherwise, other people, you just throw it away. So our Buddhist system is very simple. After burning, you can either scatter in your property, or scatter in the river, or scatter in the jungle, or in the sea. But if you want to bury, also can. So you don't need to waste a lot of money on coffin. After all, you see nowadays people buy very expensive coffin. But after you put it for cremation, all turn to dust. So you can do like in the Buddhist countries. You can just take plywood and knock the plywood together. Boleh pakai cukup. And some of them can do like the Muslims actually. They just wrap with white cloth only. When Buddha's time was like that. They just wrap the corpse. No need coffin also. So, okay. Now, the other thing is about this praying for the ancestors, like Qingming, the Ghost Festival, the last day of the Chinese New Year. When we pray, this Pai Kong Ma, this we call it what? Pai Chu. Pai Chu Xian. Pai Chou Xin. Cantonese. So this one, we pray, Chinese pray, because they think by doing merit for the relative or showing respect to the relative that you will get merit. But actually, if we want to give any merit to our relative since they have passed away, then according to the Buddha, only if they are reborn as ghosts that you can help them. Because if they are reborn as ghosts, they come back. But if they are reborn in heaven, in other planes, like in heaven or as a human being, or as an animal, or in hell, they cannot come back. So if they cannot come back, whatever you do also they don't know. So whatever you do, they don't know, you can't help them. Because for a person to receive, that person must know, and that person must be willing to accept. That's why only we can help them. So you can either, of course, if your relative is reborn as a ghost, you can offer food by the roadside, or better still, you do some charity. But before you do the charity, you inform your relatives they're going to do the charity on their behalf, and then you transfer the merit to them. Why you do this way? Because if you do your charity, your merit increases depending on who you do it to. And that's why people like to offer to the Sangha of monks and nuns, because it's more meritorious. If you offer something to a virtuous person, the merit is multiplied. But you offer to somebody who does not keep sila, no moral conduct, then your merit is lower. Okay? So when you do the offering, for example, to monks, then it is multiplied. Then you transfer to your dead relative, then he gets a lot. But if you offer by the roadside, you offer one bowl of rice, that being will only get one bowl of rice. Whereas if you do it the other way, it might get many bowls. So we have to know our relative. You want to help our relative only if they are reborn as ghosts. Can we help them? Otherwise, we cannot help them. The other thing is about our Chinese custom. A lot of people like to go to Taoist temples, and they have problems. They ask for help, and sometimes these people in Taoist temples, either they go into a trance, or the spirit comes, enters them, and then they write. They use a Y piece of wood. They write on the sand. Yes or not? 2 persons old. Let's say we have in Ipoh, Kelokse, one place. They always do this. But when they write the writing, it's a Chinese character, but it seems it's upside down, reverse. So a normal person I don't know how to read. But some of them are trained so they can read, and then they write down the actual words. So in this way, they help people. Now, who are these spirits that come and help? Of course, according to the Taoists, there are all kinds of gods. But to my belief, they are more likely to be ghosts. Because if they invite them to enter a human body, if they are a celestial being, a god, they are so happy in heaven. Why should they come into your body? Your body is so smelly to them. Just like pig come near us, we close our ear, our nose. So in the same way, our body is full of shit and urine and pus and all these things. But if we invite a ghost, the ghost will happily come into a human body because he thinks he can enjoy back human life form. So why they come? Because many of them are reborn into the ghost realm, and they they have remorse, that they have not done enough good deeds. That's why they are reborn in the ghost realm. For a person to be reborn in the ghost realm, you don't have to do evil, You just lead a normal life, and you'll be reborn in the ghost realm. Because I'll use up our blessings. Every day we enjoy Kentucky chicken, see Astro, go lay hang, all these we use our blessings. So by the time we pass away, our bank account in the red already. It's like now economy very bad. Meltdown. So because they they have remorse, then they realize they need to do good deeds. So they want to help human beings. So sometimes there are some people, even though they don't want to become a medium and all that, some of the spirit purposely enter them. Yes or not? You all know many enter ordinary people. They try to resist, so they cannot. Then after that, they have to do this work to help people. It's actually the spirit wants to help, not that person wants to help. So the spirit helps, and he gets married. So one day is reborn out of the ghost realm. But sometimes even it's a deva that comes, it's a very low deva, very low type of deva. Okay, the other thing you find in Chinese Buddhist temples and Taoist temples is Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin came from India, and in India it was called Avalokit Iswara. Avalokit Iswara. The last word is Iswara, and Iswara means God. So it was actually an Indian god that crept into Buddhism, and this Indian god was a male god. That's why the earliest statues of Kuan Yin in China was a male with moustache and all that. And then our Chinese very smart. Even so long ago, they managed to do a sex change operation. 2,000 years ago, they could manage to do a sex change operation and turn Kuan Yin into a woman. So now you find people praying to Kuan Yin, but then of course in our original Buddhism, praying to all these gods and bodhisattvas and even Buddhas will not help us, because the Buddha said in one discourse, the Buddha said there are several things in life that everybody wants. You want to be born beautiful, you want to be born strong, healthy, you want to have a happy life, a long life, and when you pass away, you want to have a good rebirth again. Yes or not? Everybody wants all these things. But the Buddha said these things are very hard to get. And the Buddha said you can't get them by praying or making a vow or thinking of them every day. The Buddha said you have to work for them. So how to work for them? You have to understand karma, the law of karma vipaka. In the law of karma vipaka, if you want to be born beautiful or handsome, you got to be sweet-natured. If you are sweet-natured, then you are born mukha manis. But you are always sour face, very bad-tempered. People say anything, you get angry. When we get angry, we have a sour face, fierce face. So every day you behave like this, it's natural, you won't have a beautiful face. No? The other thing is, if you want to have a healthy body, you don't torture other beings. If we torture other beings, I know when I was young, my parents used to tell me stories. In those days they had slaves, man slave, woman slave, and they think it's my slave. I can do what I like with her, and they torture those slaves. So you make these other beings suffer, a body painful. Next time you come back with a painful body. Not a healthy body, not a strong body. If you want to have long life, don't kill. If we kill, we make other beings have short life. It's only natural we have short life. Nowadays we see some babies born short time only, they have cancer. Where did that cancer come from? Don't blame God. So then if you want to have a good rebirth, depending where you want to be reborn. If you want to be reborn in heaven, you got to behave like a heavenly being. If your character is like a deva or a devi now, it's only natural. You'll be reborn as a deva or a devi. But you are what you call it, ngao ching. How to be born as a deva or a devi? Ngao ching, you become a ngao. So for us, we don't pray to any god. We help ourselves. That's why they say Buddhism is a do-it-yourself religion. The other thing, the other god we Chinese like to pray to is the Chai Sin, Choi San. Pray to all types of Choi San, hoping the money god. So in Buddhism, what is the money god? We also have Choi San, but our Choi San, the real Choi San, is Dana and Sila. Dana is charity, generosity, helping others. As they say. Money, you give money. You have energy, you give energy. You have time, you give time. You have words, you give comforting words. So being good to all other beings, that is dana. And sila is moral conduct. When we keep sila, we don't harm other beings. So we keep whole in, create good affinity with others. Next time you are reborn, people see you only, mukha manis. People like you. So if you open a shop, people come, pong chan, come and help your business. So this affinity is very, very important. That's why you find some people, they have good affinity with so many people. They rise up very fast. Last time in my university days, I had one friend. He was a great joker. Everybody liked him. He's very smart, always joking. Then he joined Exxon, ended up a CEO of Exxon, a few countries. Southeast Asia or something like that. So this affinity, it helps us a lot. So the way is this generosity and moral conduct. That way we can easily become wealthy. The other thing about rebirth as a deva, this behaving like a deva, this dana and sila, generosity and moral conduct is important. The other thing that is important to become a deva is meditation. Because we know devas and devis, they have great psychic power. One day the Buddha was meditating in a cave, and it was a very small cave, and 60 devas and devis came to visit him. But even though the cave was so small, and these devas and devis, their bodies are very big, very huge. The Buddha said, they did not feel crowded in the cave, even though it was a very small cave. In fact, the Buddha said, all 60 of them stood at the point of a needle, such a small point, and they did not feel cramped because of their psychic power. And then the Buddha said, you don't think that their psychic power they cultivated in heaven, The Buddha said all their psychic power was cultivated in the human lifetime, the human birth. So if we meditate, especially samatha meditation, we train our mind to focus. If our mind can focus, then the light wells up from within us. And that's why these devas and devis, they are called devas because they are bright, shining. So it helps a lot if you want to become a deva and devi by meditating. Now this our Chinese, this Taoist culture, they like to pray to all these gods. So much so that I don't know whether you all know. You go to certain old houses, the door got one face there. Even like you go to some Buddhist temples, the big door, they got a face there. Who is this face? Moon Sun. The door god. They believe that the door also has a god guarding the door. So now in Buddhist temples, you go, sometimes they don't have this face on the door. Sometimes they have Sei Tai Tin Wong, the 4 great heavenly kings, Chatu Maharajika, standing at the door there. You go, for example, to Cameron Highlands, the big temple in Brinchang. You enter the big door only, you see got 4 great heavenly kings. So this comes from Taoism, actually, praying to these door gods. And then in Taoism, they have all kinds of statues, these gods they pray to, and they offer food. So in Chinese Buddhism also, they offer the Buddha statue food every morning. They want Gong Yang Ching Ching. I used to do all this chanting. So, but then you offer this food to these statues. What's the point? They're not going to eat. The Buddha and even these devas, they have better food than us. But what is the Buddhist attitude concerning devas? The Buddha said there are a lot of devas around us, spirits, devas and ghosts and all that. And the Buddha said whenever we stay in any place, especially a new place or a new house, we have to pay respect to the devas around there. Because the devas, they also have their penghulu, just like we have a village headman, they also have their chief. In Pali it's called Deva Raja. Sometimes we call Dato Kong, the Deva head of that area. So when we come to a new area, we should pay respect, the Buddha says. They can't help us very much, but they can harm us if we look down on them. That's why you see those contractors, when they put up a building site, they always must go and pray to Dato Kong first and make offerings and all that. And then they can construct their building peacefully. Otherwise accidents will happen and some people die and all that. And in Buddhism, the Buddha talked about all types of spirits, even like, for example, tree spirits. The Buddha said, even in one tree, there are many spirits inside. There are some that like to live only in the leaves. There's some like to live only on the bark of the tree. Some like to live in the wood. Some like to live in the flowers. Some like to live only in the roots. So one tree itself has so many devas. If it's a bigger tree, there are more and bigger devas. So we have to be very careful. If you want to chop down a tree also, you should pay respect to it and give notice. Say in 3 days' time, I have to chop down this tree. If there's any devas here, devis, please find another tree. Pun ok. So you're just saying like that, at least you show respect, and then you come to no harm. But I've heard many stories of people, for example, their house, they have an old mango tree. When it's old, no more bearing fruit, and looking ugly, they go and get people to chop it down. And after that, sometimes they have accident, sometimes they fall sick. Many cases. And the worst case I heard now was one lady, she became deranged. So we have to be very careful, all these spirits around us. Don't offend them. And then praying to statues, it seems the first 300 or 500 years after the Buddha's passing away, the Buddhists never prayed to any statues. It's only later when people don't really understand the Dhamma, and they put up statues and they worship them. So this worshipping of statues is not necessary. It's something that was added later. And then in the old days, these Taoists, when they put up a statue of a god, they like to hoi ngan, opening the third eye. Hoi kong. So how they do this? They go and slaughter some animal and put the blood on the statue. Actually, why they do this? I suspect because they invite some spirit into that statue. And then now it has come into Chinese Buddhism. They also do this, but just a ceremony. The Buddhist monks are from far. They will take the pen or something and do something, mark the eye like that. So all this didn't come from it. And just like Taoists practice as physicians, sometimes our Buddhist monks also practice as physicians, which is not allowed according to the disciplinary rules of the Buddha. Now, the other thing, just now I said in the Chinese culture, the family is very important. So among the Chinese monks and nuns, they also consider themselves like the Sangha is one family. So their name, like formerly I was a Mahayana monk. My Mahayana monk name was Kai Fa Fa Se. So if I write my name, Se Kai Fa. What is that Se? The Se is a Se Chia Moni Sakya. So they claim themselves to be members of the Sakyan clan, Sakyan family. They have this. So the Kai is also like a family. All my Sushiati, all my Dhamma brothers, all also will be Kai. Kai Chao, Kai Yong, Kai this, Kai that. So this is the tradition. And then also we call the master Sifu as another. Sifu. And then the master's master, we call Su Kong. And then the Dhamma brothers, Su Hiati. That's another. All this is just like a family. It also came from our Chinese culture. So we find now in Chinese Buddhism that they have become vegetarians. Actually, that is from this Taoism. All the Chinese monks and nuns are vegetarian. It's not actually a Mahayana practice. If you go to many Mahayana countries, they are not vegetarians. Like Japanese Buddhism is also Mahayana. They don't practice vegetarianism. If you go to Tibetan Buddhism also Mahayana. They don't practice vegetarianism, but Chinese Buddhism practice vegetarianism. And because of Chinese Buddhism, because Vietnam used to belong to China, so Vietnamese Buddhists also practice vegetarianism, just like South Korea, at one time also under China, so also practice vegetarianism, but not all of them. So lastly, I'd like to say is that now we find Chinese Buddhism, the monks and nuns have degenerated and become very similar to Taoist priests. And they spend a lot of time doing ceremonies and chanting and all that. Those few monks and nuns who really want to practice, they don't want to do all this fahui, all this ceremony. Instead, they live in isolated areas. And they plant their own vegetables and all that, and they practice meditation. And this deterioration of Chinese Buddhism is quite natural. It's not only in Chinese Buddhism. You find it in many religions. For example, in the Buddhist discourses, the Buddha's discourses, he always said that the Brahmins originally were cultivators, were ascetics. Brahmins, their caste, at one time or other, the man must renounce and go and become a monk and beg for his food and all this. Sometimes it is after that person is married. Sometimes before that person is married, the person becomes a monk. So in those days, when they practiced as monks, they meditated until many of them got psychic power. So when they had psychic power, they could communicate with the devas, the gods. So I believe from there they learn a lot of mantras. Mantras are words with no meaning. We have a lot of mantras in Tibetan Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism also. And these mantras are very powerful words. In fact, they can do things similar to psychic power, like walking through the wall and make themselves invisible. This person by the name is Chinese called Long Su Pusa, one of the monks who started Mahayana Buddhism. His Pali name is Nagarjuna. He mentioned in his biography, in his younger days, he was not a Buddhist. And he and his friends learned some mantra where after chanting, they made themselves invisible. And then they go into the king's harem and then seduce the king's wives. So one day the king got furious. He asked his Brahmin, got advice what to do. So he told his soldiers to stand guard. Next time when the wives scream, they go in with their swords and slash everywhere. So his 4 friends, he and his 3 friends went to the haram and did the same thing. And the guards came and slashed, and his 3 friends died. So he was so afraid, he prayed for his life. He vowed that he came out alive, that he will change his person. So he managed to run out, and then after that he became a Buddhist monk, and then he changed his ways. So you see, these mantras are very powerful things. So after the Brahmins learned the mantras, they kept it as a secret. Only their own clansmen, only Brahmins they teach. They don't teach other people. So because these Brahmins had these mantras, the king employed them as advisors, as protectors. And because the mantras were very powerful, the king was very happy and rewarded them with land, money, cattle, wives, slaves, everything. So from there, they stopped becoming ascetics and became like priests like that, doing all the ceremony and all these things. So the Buddha used to sometimes scold them. He say, compared to the old Brahmins, there are no more Brahmins and all this. So they deteriorated. So you find also in Christianity, Jesus Christ was a great meditator. In the Bible, you find that Jesus went to the desert and meditated for 40 days and 40 nights. Must be without food. Until he probably was near to enlightenment or what. The Mara could not sit still. Mara, Satan, had to come and disturb him. So, but you find nowadays, the Christian priests and the pastors, their lifestyle is completely different from Jesus Christ, isn't it? So it's natural that sometimes the founder of religion is an ascetic, a recluse. Then years later, a few hundred years later, the disciples degenerate. So even with Hinduism also, nowadays you find a lot of Hindu priests only do ceremonies, only blessings and all that. So with Buddhism, luckily, because the Buddha's teachings on the suttas and the Vinaya is very clear, explain the holy life so clearly that we still have a chance that if we are sincere, we want to practice, we can still follow the Buddha's way up to now. But unfortunately, a lot of monks, they don't follow the Buddha's lifestyle. And just like the Buddha gave a warning that in the future, monks and nuns will live in the cities and the towns and behave like lay people and all that. Now this is happening. Find some monks and nuns driving Mercedes-Benz, buying shares, owning a lot of property. So we have to know this, how Buddhism deteriorated. So that's the end of this talk.